Hi guys, and welcome back to the channel, Know It All Nobody. Today we're going to start our how-to series, and we are going to be talking about wiring up the strobe lights and the work light for a brand new Polycaster sander by Fisher. And guys, there's a reason why Fisher, in my opinion, is the best in the market, and that's because they think of everything. So on these brand new Polycaster sanders, they have these cutouts here for your strobe light and your work light. So that one right there is your work light, and that one down there is your strobe light. And they give you these nice little knockouts here to install these. And if you have one of the modern controllers, and I'll show that to you in a second inside the cab, this is already pre-wired and ready to go, which is really nice. So we're gonna go over how to install those today, and I'm not gonna take this back off because it is the Northeast, we're getting a ton of snow, and I actually have to go back out in a minute. So I just wanted to show you guys how great these things are. So the directions are really, if I'm being honest, they're not really clear. And they also have a bunch of models that you can have in there, and they give you directions for all the models. So it's not very clear. But what you're gonna do is, in this knockout here for the strobe light, that's where I chose to put it, you're gonna drill a 1" and 1/4 hole centered, behind this light, right? You can center it, wherever you want it. If you want it vertical, whatever you want to do. But it's going to be a 1" and 1/4 hole. Use a paddle bit. That's what I used. And it'll go right through. Not a big deal. And you're going to do the same thing on the other side, right? Which is right over here, obviously. You're going to do the same thing there. So what I did is I drilled everything before I installed the lights. So above here, and I'll show you, I'm going to lift you up. There are 2 holes here, one for the wiring harness to go down into the sander, and the other to hold the bracket for the work light. And the bracket for the work light, underneath there's a threaded grommet that is going to be an 11/16 hole with a paddle bit, and you're going to drill that right there, this one. You're going to drill an 11/16 hole, and that grommet will go down in there with the threads. And you're gonna have to give it a little bit of persuasion to make it fit in there. I used a little bit of grease, and it popped right in there. And they want it tight so that the nut tightens, right? You don't want that grommet spinning free in there. So once you get all your holes drilled and everything centered here, I have all 3 of those holes centered with that strobe light on the bottom, you can start installing stuff, right? So you're gonna fish down your wiring harnesses, your respective wiring harnesses, down into the body here, down into this body. You're gonna fish them through the hole that you drilled down into this body. And I don't know if you could see right down here, but I drilled a hole down in here, another 1" and 1/4 hole. See if I can get you guys in there a little bit. Down in there so that the wiring can go through. It's right down in there. And I did the same thing on this side, okay? So I drilled a 1" and 1/4 hole for the wires for these 2 to go down here and over. If you took this off, there'd be wires across the damper for the belt, and they'd go back into the control panel, which is in here. The control box is in here in the back. And I'm going to show you guys how to wire all this up on a diagram a little bit later, okay, so you guys know exactly what you're doing. But once you go ahead and fish your wiring harnesses down through this one and this one, down here again into the control panel, make sure you mark everything so you don't lose what's what. You want to mark, hey, this wire is for strobe and this wire is for work. Just mark them when you get them down in here through the body, okay? And once the wires are all through the body, you drilled your hole out, you can go ahead and start putting this stuff in. So get your work light set up how you want it. It's just on a bracket that goes into that grommet. The strobe light just drills right into the body of the sander. There's nothing really special. You just do the supplied screws, screw them right in, it'll suck down. And then, up here, that other 1 1/4 hole, they have this special plate that they want you to put this grommet in so that the wire doesn't, get any water down in there. The wire goes right in there. And you just cut them to the center, pop them in, and, set them how you want them and get them all set up. And that's really it, guys. It's super, super easy. Again, the directions are okay. They're not great. And part 2 of this is I'm going to show you, behind this spreader here on the driver's side, there's going to be a control panel back here. And I'm going to show you how to wire everything up. All right, guys. See everybody soon. Okay, guys. So welcome to part 2 of this video, where I'm going to show you how to wire up those lights that we were talking about. So I just want to go over everything that we're looking at here. So I'm going to zoom you guys out just a little bit so we can see everything here, okay? So what you're looking at here is once you open up that control panel, which is right over here, this is everything, there's not everything that's going to be inside, but this is what matters. So you have your stud block with your hot and your negative, so positive, negative, your main control module, which you don't really need, but it's just there for me to show you. And then there's this cutout right here with the 2 leads back to the controller in the cab. So that's everything that you need inside that main access panel. Over here, you got your leads coming in from your lights that you installed. And in reality, if you did the strobe lights and the work lights, there would be 4 of these, okay? 4. And then up here, we have our relay units that tie everything together. And if you did both of those, there's going to be 2 of those, okay? So if you did both strobe lights and work lights, you're going to have 2 of these and 4 of these. So in actuality, what's going on here? So let's take a look. I'm going to show you exactly what you need to do to wire these. So your very first step is to decide where you want these relays to go. So Fisher gives you these nice little holes on top of the control box, the main control box here. These symbolize holes, and you just plug these up in there, okay, like that. You're going to take that little nip there and plug it in where you want. So that's your very first step, okay, is to get this actuated to where you want it. After you get those in there and you're all set, you can start hooking stuff up. So what I would do first is make sure you have enough play in your wires, of course. But what I would do is I would take this negative and positive from your relay and hook that up to the lead to your light, right? So that's going to be step 1. You're going to take the other one, obviously you have a left and a right light, and you're going to hook it to the other one, okay? So again, you're hooking from the lights to this relay that's put inside of the control unit in one of these knockouts. So once you have that set up, and again, you're going to do this twice if you did both sets of lights. If you only did one set, you're only going to do this once, obviously, okay? So what you want to do next is take the yellow wire that is on that relay, that's going to be right here, and that talks to your control box inside the cab. It talks to your box in there. So you're going to plug that in. If you did both, you have to pretend these wires over here are white and gray. I didn't really have those colors, so just pretend these are white and gray. But these are yellow here. So if you did the strobe lights, then you're going to take this yellow wire on your relay and you're going to hook that up to the white wire coming out of this cutout here inside the control panel. That's for your strobe lights. So again, yellow to white if you did the strobe lights. If you did work lights, then you're going to take that yellow to the gray wire. So yellow to gray wire right there, okay? So that's going to be your next step. And again, that tells the controller inside that you hooked up a relay. Then the very last step is you're going to take this positive and negative and hook them up accordingly. Let me grab a red marker so it makes sense. You're going to hook this up to that right there. So you have the positive to the positive and the negative to the negative on the stud block. And the stud block has a cover on it, so you're just going to pinch the top and the bottom of the cover. It'll pop right off. And then obviously right here, there's a nut, and there's a nut holding the hot and the ground on. So you have to take those nuts off and put these leads in there, okay? So that's how you wire this whole thing up. It's super, super easy. And again, you're going to do this twice. Once for your strobe light and once for your work light if you're doing both, okay? So it's a very, very simple process and not a big deal. And I'm going to show you right now what it should look like in the controller inside the cab if you did everything right, okay? Okay, guys, when you think you're good and you think you're wired up right, what's going to happen is your controller now should have these two lights on. They say light and strobe. And when you turn them on, I'm going to take you guys back outside here. This is what you should look like now. I'm going to take you over here. And that's what they look like when they're all said and done. It's exactly what you should look like, okay? Do you guys have any questions on this stuff at all? Drop it in the comments. I like replying to as many as I can. I can definitely help you guys out. Leave them in there. If you like content like this, want more how-to videos, like and subscribe. Know it all, nobody. Till next time.